Welcome to the Democratic Women of Monterey County's District 2 Supervisor Candidate Forum. I'm Nicole Hollingsworth, and I'm president of DWMC. So, before we really get started today, I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on two very public items happening right now in the US. One would be that DWMC wishes to acknowledge the passing of Madeleine Albright, who was, of course, the first female secretary in US history. It feels important to mention that today, since she's paved the way for so many, especially in politics. But I also hope that everyone here today is paying attention to the confirmation hearings of the Honorable Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. Since she is facing, I don't know if you guys have watched this, but she's facing some of the most disgusting, sexist, and racist lines of questioning that we've ever probably witnessed in history. I just want to make sure that we're all paying attention to this bigger picture as we kind of get down into the local politics today. We've come so far as women, but we have so far to go. And so please stay tuned for more information on these items. And I hope again that you're able to tune into some of these hearings that we're watching today. So today is actually going to run a little bit differently than our usual webinar luncheon format. And we're trying out a new candidate forum style, excuse me. So the DWMC board has taken the time to interview each of the Democratic candidates for District 2 supervisor race. We did so via Zoom, and each candidate was asked the same questions live and given the same amount of time to respond to each question. So today what we're going to do is we're going to play those interviews for you for the first time publicly. And after today's forum, those interviews will be posted to our website, so you could go back and view them at your leisure, or share with your friends or anyone who you'd like to share with, who, especially in District 2, who weren't able to be present today. And then after we've played all the interviews today, we're going to allow our membership to ask questions of the candidates who are present today. The only candidates who are able to be present today, we're all working, we're all busy, were Glenn Church and Grant Leonard. So I think they'll be here today. And so we'll ask that, true to our usual webinar style, that you put those questions in the chat so that we're able to get to as many questions as possible. And as always, if you need assistance with using our chat feature, please let myself, Lisa Berkeley, Kate Daniels, or Josie Wilson, who are all here today, let them know if you need some help with that. And if we're unable to get to your question today, I also want to let everybody know that DWMC, we've decided as a board that we want to make more of an effort to let our membership know when other organizations are hosting candidate forums or interviews or events. In fact, if you're a part of another organization who's hosting a candidate forum, we want you to feel free to post that information in the chat today, or let us know so that we can inform our memberships of those opportunities to engage with different candidates. And we also highly encourage you to reach out to candidates directly as well, especially if you're a voter in District 2. So we hope that today is just one of many opportunities to get to know your District 2 supervisor candidates. And again, if you miss anything today, we're going to make sure to post these recordings on our website as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Lisa, can you help? Thank you.
Lisa, are you on mute? Oh.
Everyone, this is a recorded interview with Glenn Church, who is a candidate for supervisor in District 2. I'm Josie Wilson, and my sister DWMC board member is Lisa Berkeley. She'll be responsible for timekeeping and recording. We're going to begin with Glenn introducing himself for 1 minute. Then I'll follow with 4 questions, and the candidate will have 3 minutes to answer each. Glenn, please make your introductory remarks.
Sure. Thank you, Josie. I'm a native out here in North County and Monterey County. And in general, I went to school out here, lived out here all my life. I feel I know the communities and the people out here. They've been my neighbors and friends for 62 years of my life. I worked for myself since I was 18, and I've been involved in local county issues here since the late 1970s. First, it was parks, on the environment, open government, on water issues. I've served on nonprofit boards locally, also nationally. I served on the board of directors of Amnesty International for 6 years as program chair. And I've more recently, I've served on the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency and as an alternate public member director. And I'm currently president of the Fire State Council for Monterey County. I believe my minute is up.
Thank you very much. So the first official question that you'll have 3 minutes to respond. Why do you want to be the District 2 supervisor? And in your words, please define the role of a county supervisor.
Sure. Well, I want to be, well, to step back here. Throughout my life, I've had some people urge me to be a county supervisor at times. My dad served on the board of supervisors between 1965 and 1977. So I saw, as I was growing up and in the decade speaking with him and other county officials, I saw how a county supervisor should operate and how they should act. And what I have seen in the last few years is supervisors, particularly in this area, who aren't doing what I feel a supervisor should be doing and what I feel and have seen other supervisors do in the past. This is an important position in that District 2 out here in North County is the only supervisorial district with majority of rural residents. So we don't have a city council, we don't have a mayor taking care of our concerns. This is something that really requires a lot. This is a job that really requires a lot of work. It's a 7-day-a-week job. It involves interaction with the public, and I don't believe the current supervisor has done that. Has not communicated as well and has not interacted with the people. So the first and most important job that a supervisor has to do is to listen to the people and to respond to their problems and get them fixed. And as with most local government, that includes very basic things, just simple things like just getting a pothole fixed in front of your driveway, to getting litter picked up, abandoned vehicles around, making sure that the proper county services are being provided. So these are some of the real basic things that go down to the county supervisor's position. There's also the need of having the engagement with the people to understand what their concerns are so that the right policies can be put forth into the county, because the board of supervisors, of course, set forth the county policies, but they also control the county budget. So these are the real bread and butter issues that we face here in this district and in this county. But while the supervisor really needs to be engaged within the district, whatever that may be, that supervisor's vote means just as much as any other supervisor on the board in terms of the county. So you got to have two clear perspectives. You have to have one looking after the interests of the people within your district, and that is a main priority of mine, of course, but also it means looking at the county as a whole and voting and taking care of issues, regional problems, and finding regional solutions. And I think my time is about up, so I'll stop right there. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, the next question. What do you consider to be the top 3 most pressing issues for District 2?
Well, I feel I can answer that now because I feel I know even better than I did before this campaign began exactly what the concerns of the people are. I've been going out since October, knocking on doors in unincorporated rural North County. Places like Elkhorn Road, like Las Lomas, Aromas, Barrow, Castroville, Bolsonols, which is just outside of Salinas. Every day I go out and I knock on these doors. I've been to about 3,500 doors, and sometimes it's slow going on some of these rural roads. But every day I go out there, I get people that tell me I've never had a candidate come to my door before. And a lot of these people will say, I've lived here 20, 30, 40 years. And they want to talk. I've had multiple conversations that went 30 minutes because I feel if I'm going knock on their door, I need to listen until they're done talking. So I hear these issues, and overwhelmingly, what people are most concerned about is basic county services. These are the issues of not getting roads fixed. We have roads out here that haven't been paved since the 1960s, and we're doing get chip seals put onto these roads anymore. I can't remember the last time that was done on most of these roads. There's no animal control officer out here on weekends. There's litter that has been left and not picked up. Trash that is, I shouldn't even say litter, it's actually trash that's thrown out there and left, and abandoned vehicles that don't get picked up. The sheriff's department has had a number of deputies that have been on patrol cut in the last few years from 120 to 60. So there's been slow responses on that when somebody really needs some help onto these things. There's basic issues and some of the more urbanized areas, such as in Castroville, where the street lights have been shot out by gang members so that the streets are dark. There's sidewalks that only go part way down a road, and then there's dirt. And so there's all these issues. There's homelessness, which is an issue, which has been brought up to me out in Barrow a lot. So these are the basic services right there that overall have to be covered. But there are other issues as well too. And there's of course affordable housing. And affordable housing, I think, has really been exacerbated by poor government policies. We're not building smaller homes. There's a shortage of smaller homes on the market. So we need to go through and encourage development of smaller homes because they will make more affordable rents, and they will be starter homes for people. Another big issue out here, and this is an issue also, I think, in Carmel Valley and Pebble Beach and the Highlands, is wildfire prevention. I believe that we need to put together a fully organized countywide plan on wildfire fuel reduction, as well as out here in North County, particularly the removal of the oak trees, which really need to be done by county, state, and federal funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our third question has to do with the Monterey County plan. Monterey County will soon begin to update the 20-year Monterey County General Plan. What do you think are the most important elements of it for District 2?
General plan, yeah, I guess that is coming up because those are done about every 20 years. So the last one was done in 2010, but I know it took about 10 years to develop, as I recall. So I believe it was started around 2000. So the general plan is really the roadmap for the county in terms of where we're going to go in housing and traffic, where we're going to go with deals with noise issues, safety issues. Trying to think of it's so encompassing. Natural resources, even historical resources. So I mean, there's just a huge amount of things that need to be covered into a general plan. And I think when we look at North County, you have to realize that there's a lot of people out here. Over half of this county's unincorporated population is in District 2, in the area north of Salinas. But each of these communities are very distinctive. Castroville, Las Lomas, Aromas, Prunedale. There's 6, 7, 8 little neighborhoods and communities out here. And these communities really identify separately and have their own problems. So they really need to be included into here a lot. I think one thing that has fallen apart in previous general plans, and I'll focus on look at Bolsonols, for example, which is just outside of Salinas. It's now in Salinas sphere of influence, I believe, from the previous plan. I'm not so sure these people really want that. I've knocked on those doors out there and listened to people. They feel neglected by the county and don't feel a part of the city. So these are the kind of things that have got to be addressed. They've got problems that aren't addressed, but that's the same problem that you're going to have in these other communities as well. So the most important thing is to really make sure that they are involved and get input into this. Obviously, we need to find something about housing and affordable housing. Where's that going to go? We need to figure out what to do with traffic, because this area has a horrible traffic problem. This is the gateway for anybody coming in and coming out of the county. If you're going to go to Santa Cruz, you're going to go to the Bay Area or anywhere, you're coming through North County. This is, again, one of these regional problems that needs a regional solution, but the people here need to be able to get input into there. And of course, we do have an agricultural element too, that's important. But what's really important is that we've got to put together a consistent plan that really allows for these communities to have their own identity, but yet also the plan's going to be consistent with the neighborhoods as that are adjacent to it. So this is really an important step, and it's important we get involved into it early, because last time it took us 10 years to put together a general plan, and I don't think anybody was really very happy with it. So I think it's good for us to start thinking about this and making some steps forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, the last of our questions. We are interested in knowing what you think are the needs not being met for women in the county and how you might address them.
The needs not being met by women in the county is, I think, we got childcare right off the bat, especially for, single women are in a really vulnerable situation out of there. So there's a lot into there that really needs to be taken care of. We need to make sure we have the proper county resources, proper county programs into doing this. There's also just the opportunity, excuse me, the opportunity of having the right housing. Again, housing is something that covers for everybody, but if you don't have housing, you really don't have a good foundation upon which to have your life structured into moving forward. So many of these issues, though, as I'm thinking about it, are really encompassing men and women, but obviously women would be, besides the childcare issue, I think we have to look at also age situations as well into here too. Younger women are going to be, having careers that they need to be addressing and needing the right training and opportunities are going in, just like for anybody else seeking a job. But there's a great deal of an older population out here in North County, older women, who I think are feeling very isolated as well. And there needs to be some greater senior services that put out here in North County. We have something in Castroville, we have a senior center in Ferndale. And obviously women represent a larger number of the elderly. And I think this is often very neglected. So I would like to see some greater senior services put out here, or for women who are out of the workforce but need to be engaged in the community. As I've knocked on many doors out here in North County, I've had a lot of discussion with older women who I can see that they're having sometimes difficulty getting to some places, and perhaps having the right, especially during the COVID, there was a lot of isolation that went on. But even beyond that, I would like to see an expansion on the senior center in North County, for example, and perhaps also out in the Paro area. I think I'll leave it at that on that question.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to end with your closing statement. You'll have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my timer here. So because there we go. Thank you. Closing statement, as I mentioned, one thing that I really feel important about in this position is going out and talking to people and listening to people and to their concerns. And that's why I've gone to so many homes and knocked on their doors and had input from people. This is something I don't believe anybody else has ever really done, and at least out in this area, and an area that's very difficult to walk. Because when I first started, I was told, well, you can't walk Ferndale, you can't walk these Elkhorn and areas, but it can be done, and that's how you learn about people and their concerns. So I'm running really to try to serve people. Now, I also want to point out that I've also had a significant amount of endorsements from people such as Sam Farr and Bill Monning, Ana Caballero, Mark Stone, as well as Mary Adams. Maybe missing some others, Judge Richard Silver, for example, and I believe my time is pretty much up here, so I better stop.
Glenn, thank you so much. It's good to get to know you a bit, and really appreciate your sharing with the DWMC.
Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you for the time. Have a good evening, or good afternoon, I guess as it is here today.
All right, Grant, pleasure to meet you, and please make your introductory remarks.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to the Democratic Club of Monterey County, Democratic Women's Club. I'm Grant Leonard, resident of Castroville, running for North Monterey County Supervisor. And a little bit about me. I'm a father. We have 2 beautiful children already, Gracie, who's 6, and Galen, who's 2, and we have 1 more on the way coming this May. And we love raising our family in North Monterey County, and that's one of the main reasons I'm running for supervisor, is to make sure that we have a beautiful area for our kids to grow up in, with good quality services for them and for the rest of our community too. So for me, this race is about important issues for disadvantaged community like Castroville and Pajaro. It's about housing and renter issues. It's about groundwater sustainability. It's about adapting to climate change. And it's about building a beautiful community for us to have for our families here in North Monterey County. And I have a bunch of experience here in the community, as well as working for the city of Monterey, running their affordable housing office, and including recently distributing over $2 million in emergency rental assistance during the COVID pandemic.
So we're going to have to stop your intro and move on to the first question. Okay.
Okay.
And just for clarification, at the 1 minute mark, you'll see me in the corner with the yellow and then 30-second red. All right. All right. Go ahead, Josie, take it away.
Okay. Grant, why do you want to be District 2 Supervisor? And in your words, please define the role of a county supervisor.
Excellent. Well, a county supervisor in North Monterey County is really the main resource for our community here. We have several unincorporated communities, but no cities in North Monterey County. So the supervisor acts a lot like a mayor and an advocate for the people in Castroville, Pajaro, Ferndale, Moss Landing, Elkhorn, Baronda, Bolsa Knolls. And so that's the main role up here, is to be your main person that you go to if you need help from the County of Monterey. And that's vitally important because the county provides much of the services here in the county, in North Monterey County. In addition to that, of course, the county supervisor serves on the board, which oversees countywide issues, countywide policy, and the countywide budget. And so it's important to have a supervisor who can be a team player and can help the board of supervisors find solutions to the challenges facing the county as a whole, like housing, transportation, water sustainability. The reason I'm running, as I mentioned in my intro, is really out of a genuine love for the community. And it's also because of my focus in local government. Admittedly, I'm a local government geek. I went to college to be a city planner. I have a master's degree in urban and regional planning. 6 years of experience at the Transportation Agency of Monterey County, working on highway projects like the Holman Highway Roundabout and Ferndale Improvement Project, and also transitioned from there to the city of Monterey to work on affordable housing for the last 3 years. In my free time, I serve on 9 different committees serving Monterey County and North Monterey County, including Park and Rec Commission, the Cemetery District, the Chamber of Commerce, the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. So I'm running to bring that experience to the county supervisors seat here in North Monterey County and to build on that experience and help deliver the solutions we need here in the county for housing, for transportation, for water, for renters' rights.
Okay, thank you. So the next question. What do you consider the top 3 most pressing issues for District 2?
Well, the top 3, I think, for District 2, like the rest of the county, are transportation, fixing our roads, affordable housing, and water sustainability. So the county has $1.5 billion in deferred maintenance for the road system, and a lot of that is in North Monterey County. Our roads are crumbling, and it's a major concern for us here. And it affects everyone who drives to work or to school, and it affects our economy as well. So I'd like to focus on that and help steer the county towards generating more revenue to pay for road improvements, including looking at bonding as a way to deliver projects more quickly so that we can chip away at that deferred maintenance. On affordable housing, it's no secret that this is a terribly expensive place to live for renters and for homeowners. And it's also no secret that we haven't had a lot of growth in the housing market in the last 15 years. The last major development approved by the county is the East Garrison development, and that was approved in the mid-2000s. So clearly, we have an issue with not being able to promote housing growth. And that has a ripple effect of everything getting more expensive. It's more expensive to buy. It's more expensive for renters to rent the existing apartments. And that chips away at your ability to pay for other bills, chips away at your ability to have a good quality of life, to pay for after school programming for your kids. Housing is the #1 cost for people. And if we could reduce the cost of housing, then it allows people to have a higher quality life and spend their limited discretionary income on other things. And thirdly, groundwater sustainability. Here in North Monterey County, we have seawater intrusion in Castroville. We have contaminants like arsenic and nitrates in the well systems. And we have private wells that run dry during the drought years. So it's really, it's a critical issue that's been slowly building for years, particularly the saltwater intrusion. But it's also an issue that we have solutions for. That's what I've been working with the Groundwater Sustainability Agency on, is to develop sustainability plans and then now to implement them. So we've been successful in achieving $10 million in grants from the state to begin our implementation. And as supervisor, I'd like to keep working on that and then also deliver some solutions to the contaminant issues, as well as where wells are running dry and where we can help homeowners who are suffering with that.
Great, thank you. All right, our third question. Monterey County will soon begin to update the 20-year Monterey County General Plan. What do you think are the most important elements of it for District 2?
Well, as I mentioned before, I think that we really need to revisit the housing part of our general plan. We need to have pro-housing policies built in. The general plan was passed in 2010. As I mentioned, there's been no major entitlements of housing since then. The general plan wisely focused housing on existing communities for in-growth. That's good urban planning. That's literally what I went to school to learn, and I'm a big believer in it. And that's what we've done at the city of Monterey with density overlay zones and mixed use development. And that's the type of development we need to see in North Monterey County as well. But we are not doing enough to work with our nonprofit developers and for-profit developers. And we need to revisit the general plan and meet with them as stakeholders and say, how can we create a document that works for you to support housing? And then for North Monterey County, we need to really look at environmental issues and climate adaptation. Moss Landing, for instance, is at risk of sea level rise, and the Moss Landing community plan that has been in development for many years is looking to address that. And then that's going to affect other communities as well, especially with seawater intrusion into the aquifer. So climate adaptation is very important. And, you know, there's so much more and I'm blanking on it. So I'm going to stop there and save my time. But definitely housing and climate adaptation are two very important issues for general plan update.
You need to unmute, Josie.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. All right, Grant. We're interested in knowing what you think are the needs not being met for women in the county and how you might address them.
Sure. Interested in the needs for women and how I might address them as a supervisor.
Yes.
Well, definitely, as a supervisor, you're working with the other 4 supervisors to develop policies and also to guide the budget. So we need to work with the Commission on the Status of Women. And, you know, personally, from what I see, is we need to support women in the workforce and also in housing. And I'll give you an example. You know, my wife is a classic COVID case for the women in the workforce. She was laid off during COVID and has returned to work part-time at home. And so she went from being fully employed to underemployed, in part to help take care of our little ones who are very good at Zoom bombing. So it's important that we look at the issues of women in employment because that comes to the heart of supporting families and supporting our next generation here in Monterey County. It also has to do with affordable housing and supporting renters. Women renters and women head of households need our support. I mentioned earlier about chipping away at your discretionary income if you don't have, if you're spending so much money on rent. So that creates potential for a cycle of poverty. And so if we can address housing and we can address employment issues, then we can help support the women in our community. Also with the issue of homelessness, which is something I work on very closely, making sure we support nonprofits like Gathering for Women that particularly target homeless women populations because they are more vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable groups in that population, so that we can help them get out of homelessness and get into transitional housing and stable housing. But really, what it comes down to is what I believe is collaboration and setting up the stakeholder groups like the commission and working with them and listening to them, taking their advice, and then working to implement it through the budget and the policy direction of the Board of Supervisors.
Okay. So we'll end with your closing statement. You'll have 1 minute.
You know, in closing, I'll just recap why I'm running. I'm running out of love for this community and because of the experience I can bring to the position. Working with our community here in Castroville and Pajaro and Prindale, on recreation, on economic development, on housing, on groundwater sustainability. I have all that experience to bring. And then on countywide issues, having worked in transportation, having worked in affordable housing, have that experience to bring. And having the vision of a young father who wants to support the community because he doesn't want, I don't want my kids to be working on the same problems we're working on now. We need to have an urgency of now. We need to really meet the moment so that we can have a great place for our kids to grow up.
Thank you very, very much.
Hello, everyone. This is a recorded interview with Adriana Malgoza Ramirez, who is candidate for supervisor in District 2. I am Renee Penalver. We are going to begin with Adriana introducing themselves for 1 minute. Then I'll follow with 4 questions, and the candidate will have 3 minutes to answer each. Adriana, please make your introductory remarks.
Buenos dias. Good morning. My name is Adriana, and I am running for District 2. I live in Castroville and have lived here for 29 years, about 29 years. And I am the daughter of 2 farm workers and a farm working family who have worked, taken care of, dedicated their life to District 2, including the Salinas Valley and the Pajaro Valley. I have 3 teens, 2 that are very brilliant, amazing, strong and unique, and 2 daughters and 1 son. I have a background on legal aid, community leadership development, and community advocacy. My career has been working advocating for social justice issues in many areas, and that's one part of what I've done throughout my life. Worked on issues that addressed issues in North Monterey County and Old Monterey County in the local, regional, and state level. I serve in a lot of boards and volunteer in a lot of organizations where I dedicate my work to bringing services to North Monterey County.
Thank you, Adriana. So we're going to go with our first question. Why do you want to be the District 2 supervisor? And in your words, please define the role of a county supervisor.
So I want to be a supervisor because I believe that I have the experience and the motivation, the passion and dedication to bring services that North County has needed, continues to need, and address issues that we have faced for many, many years. As a child, I advocated for a library in Castroville, and I saw how the Board of Supervisors, I went up to the Board of Supervisors and advocated for that library. And it made me think, this is the way that we do get services to our community, where we together come as a community and say, this is what we need as a community, and advocate for it. Since a young child, I've been doing that. I've been serving on boards, and I've been serving on volunteer work, where I've been bringing services to this area. I think the role of a supervisor is to connect, to listen to community, connect community to the services that the community needs, and advocate for the services of the community. District 2 is very unique, where we don't have a city. Well, the only city is the outside of Salinas, but we don't have, in all of our towns, it's unincorporated, so we don't have a city. So the role of supervisor is to make sure that they advocate for an area that is rural and unincorporated, and bringing the services that the constituents need. And that includes advocating for everything that every constituent wants and needs, and hearing the voices of all those in the community, and bringing them together. There has been a lot of division within District 2 of our towns. And so I don't think that's helpful. So I think that the role of the supervisor is to make sure that we're working together to improve District 2 and bring the services that they need. I think that the role of the supervisor is to also be the voice of the community, and be the one that brings the voices of the community to areas where they are needed to advocate for the services that the community wants. It might be seen as the leader, but I think that the leader is the community who will, the supervisor needs to listen to all community and figure out how to bring community to a middle point if there's disagreement, and also how to like work with all community to advocate for what the community is asking. And for me, it's very important to have someone that can communicate with every constituent in the district too. I'm able to speak both languages, English and Spanish, and I'm able to work with different backgrounds and different community members. And I think that that makes me a great candidate to bring representation to our district.
Thank you for your response, Adriana. I'm going to pause for question 2. Okay, question 2. What do you consider the top 3 most pressing issues for District 2?
So I think for me, the top 3 most pressing issues has been 1, social services. Our community has constantly had to travel out of our community to obtain basic social services that would help them with addressing other root cause problems. And so for me, it's important to bring social services to our district instead of our community having to travel out of our community to get the services that they need. And that includes healthcare, that includes educational, recreational. I think recreation is another major issue that is happening in our community. Our youth are not having what they need to engage in positive activities. Our elders don't have activities in our areas. So recreation is one of the other pressing issues. And I constantly go to meetings and hear that from the community where they're saying recreation activities and open space is something that we need in our community. And then the other one is our infrastructure. Our roads are pretty damaged. There's grass grown, there's trash around our district that we, I believe, have need resources to be able to continue to take care of our communities. And so infrastructure is one of the issues that I really want to address, and bringing ways to fix something that has been neglected for years, and making sure that our community also owns that and takes care of that infrastructure, as well as bringing, I mean, for example, we have one bridge that we walk, but there's no trash cans around. So that's a major issue. We need to be able to have everything to be able to succeed and be successful in our community. And then housing. Housing is one of the things that I believe it's impacting a lot of our community members. There's lack of housing, and there's lack of affordable housing. And when I mean affordable housing, I mean affordable housing for all low-income families, but also community members who are middle class and who are professionals who are not making enough because of the housing prices that currently exist. And so for me, it's important to bring housing that it addresses all the needs within our district. And that includes bringing housing for professionals who are coming and spending their time and dedicating their skills to our community, but also addressing the low-income housing and affordable housing that we need. And how do we balance that with everything that the district is needing at the moment?
Thank you for your response, Adriana. We're going to move on to question 3. Monterey County will soon begin to update the 20-year Monterey County General Plan. What do you think the most important elements of it for District 2?
That's a really good topic, because I learned that it hasn't been evaluated in years, in many, many years. So for me, it's we always have to keep track or review policies and plans to see if it still fits within our community. I think one of the things that with that plan, we need to look at, again, zoning areas. Zoning areas, and if the zoning areas currently balance out the taking care of the land, but also having places where our community lives. We're growing and we need more spaces, but we also need to balance to make sure that we take care of our natural resources and making sure that our natural resources are not something that we take advantage of. And how do we balance the zoning of using land for housing, but also making sure that we're not using land that should be protected as well. So I think that that's something that the general plan should look at regarding where can we build and what spaces should we still continue to take care of and protect.
Thank you so much for your response. We're going to move on to the last question, question 4. We're interested in knowing what you think are the needs not being met for women in the county and how you might address them.
So for me, I think it's really important for our women to have proper health care and accessible healthcare. And that's something that we're lacking in our areas. Sometimes we have, we might have a clinic, but it doesn't meet our needs, and we have to travel out to make sure that we get the healthcare that we need. I also think it's also very important to develop leadership of our women in our area. And we lack representation, and we lack for our young women to see, hey, I can also be the one representing. I can also do that job. I can also be in science. I can also be in engineering. I can, and our young generation seeing that they're able to also represent and be in careers that usually we don't see our women in careers. Education is a major thing that we need to address, and making sure that our women are able to see themselves in any career that they wish to be in. But again, I say that healthcare is a major thing, and we should be able to have all the healthcare that we need within our district, and making sure that our women have access to proper healthcare in everything that the woman needs. So for me, healthcare would be a major thing that's lacking in our area.
Thank you for your response, Adriana. That was our last question. We'll end with your closing statement. You have 1 minute.
And I've dedicated all my career to serving District 2, dedicated my career in legal aid, in leadership development, in community advocacy, and I've served in different boards. It's important for supervisors to understand policies and understand how to make policies, but I think it's also crucial that we understand how those policies impact the community. And I have experience in both. I have experience in developing policies and also understanding how those policies are affecting and impacting our community. I have worked in issues such as human rights, immigration, criminal justice system, education, and healthcare and social determinants of healthcare. So I think that I have a broad understanding of all the issues that it's affecting District 2. And it's important because I think it's important that we all see representation, and representation matters, and to be able to communicate with all of our constituents in District 2. And that's something that I am able to do. That is something that I've done for years. And it's not something that I just started as a career. My whole career has been in dedicating my life to District 2. And I will continue to do that. I will continue to advocate and work for all the needs that our district has, because this is where we spend our time.
Thank you, Adriana. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Regina, please make your opening remarks.
All right, thank you. And thank you, DWMC. Hello, DWMC members. I am truly apologetic that my schedule on that day, this day that you'll see this, really just prevents me from being there in person. I would have done everything I could to be there, but I made a commitment months ago. So here I am on a Zoom screen. You know, you can always reach me to ask me additional questions. So thank you again. My name is Regina Gage, and I'm currently the Executive Director for Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley. I am running running for the Monterey County Board of Supervisors, District 2, because I feel, and many of the constituents that I've talked to feel, that this district has been underrepresented for years. People want a leader who is accountable, who is forthright, who is accessible and available to listen and address their concerns. I know I have the leadership experience that makes me qualified to take on this position. I have a commitment to be transparent and to be available to the people in District 2 and to work on the difficult issues facing us in this district. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good start. So why do you want to be the District 2 supervisor? And in your words, please define the role of a county supervisor.
I want to be the District 2 supervisor because I have a proven track record of leadership. I've been the chief financial officer of a multi-million-dollar agency taking care of foster children. I've been a legal advocate for domestic violence victims. I've run nonprofit agencies. I've been in leadership positions most of my adult life. So I truly believe that I have the experience to represent District 2. I also think that when you're a leader, you have to make difficult decisions. And I'm willing to do that with input from the community members. Monterey County Board of Supervisors has, and interesting, a lot of people don't really know what the Board of Supervisors do. They are responsible for much land use policy, noise ordinances, as you've probably been hearing about in North County, especially rural North County, health policies. I know there were a lot of issues during the pandemic that the board was involved in. So I think I would be or am eminently qualified for this position because of my wide and broad experience in leadership positions. Thank you.
Okay. What do you consider the top 3 most pressing issues for District 2?
I would say the top 3, the first one would be the lack of the neglect, the fact that District 2 has literally been ignored for years. We have crumbling infrastructure. We have illegal dumping going on all the time. We have dead animals left on the side of the road for days, weeks on end. We have loud parties in North County, which are really becoming an issue. So I think that's an issue that the district simply has not been taken care of, and we don't seem to get the resources that are needed to address these problems. I think another issue in District 2 is, again, we've had leadership that doesn't seem interested in meeting with the constituents. And District 2 is a really beautiful, diverse community. It's Castroville, it's Aromas, it's Pajaro, it's Moss Landing, it's parts of Prunedale, parts of North Salinas. So I think we need somebody who is willing to meet with people on a regular basis to hear their concerns, even when they may not agree with one another, at least to communicate in a forthright and transparent manner. Another issue in District 2 is water. Water is a serious issue. There was a water forum last week or 2 weeks ago, which was very interesting, but interesting enough, it did not address the serious issues that are facing North County, specifically the rural communities, Castroville, Prunedale, which is where I live, Aromas, Pajaro. We are on wells, and many of these wells are contaminated, and there doesn't seem to be a comprehensive policy to address this water issue. Of course, there are other situations and other problems. There's homelessness, which is, heartbreaking and sad. There's the cost of living. Many people can't even afford, forget about buying a house. People can't even afford to rent. And these are the people who are working in our industries that are very important to us. So I know I've gone over 3, Josie, but there are a lot of issues facing the district that need to be addressed and embraced and worked on.
Okay. The third question, Regina. Monterey County will soon begin to update the 20-year Monterey County General Plan. What do you think are the most important elements of it for District 2?
I think housing is a serious issue, as I said previously. And when I say housing, I mean providing a place for people to live, whether that's a studio apartment, a duplex, an ADU, a 2 or 3 bedroom home for a family. I think housing is a huge issue. I also think infrastructure is a huge issue. Again, it's been neglected and sort of left to its own devices for too long. I think that we have to be mindful that we are in a 8, 10, $12 billion agricultural community, which obviously is very important. And, you know, 1 out of every 4 or 5 people work in the ag industry. So we have to preserve the ag lands while finding that balance between the people who are owning these ag lands, which obviously are very important, and the residents in this county. I know ag uses about 85–90% of the water. So we may have to look at that. Those are some of the issues I think need to be addressed in the upcoming general plan. Plus, I will add preservation of our open spaces and the environment in which we live. We've got fire issues, we've got litter issues. So there's a myriad of problems to address. And I hope they will be addressed in this plan and worked on. It's one thing to address something, then you have to work on it.
Okay, thank you. All right, the last question. We're interested in knowing what you think are the needs not being met for women in the county and how you might address them.
Well, as someone who has been a legal advocate for domestic violence victims, and about 95% of my clients were women, as someone who's the executive director for Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley, the majority of our clients are vulnerable, they live alone, and they are women. I think that we need to have policies that embrace giving opportunities, not only to the people who are older and not at the pinnacle of their lives, like our seniors, but also to our young girls, because study after study shows that when you embrace and you respect and you encourage women, then the entire community does better. And as we all know, as being a part of the Democratic women represent more than 50% of the population. However, we continue to be woefully underrepresented in most political positions. So I would advocate for a broader a focus on women. I know that we have the Commission for the Status of Women. It doesn't seem to get as much attention or as many resources as it needs, but I would start having dialogue, start having conversations, and focusing on the young girls all the way down to the folks who, as I said, are not at the pinnacle or at the height of their career. They're, you know, in their sunset years, as they say.
Okay, thank you. We'll end with your closing statement. You'll have 1 minute.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you for your time and interest. As I said, I will bring a track record of dynamic leadership. I'm a hands-on person. I'm running on my track record, what I've been able to accomplish in my role at Meals on Wheels of the Salinas Valley. I was honored as an unsung hero because of the work that we did during COVID, but I did not do this alone. I know how to collaborate. I know how to work with a broad spectrum of people. I've been endorsed by some wonderful elected officials, Jane Parker, of course, who is a trailblazer in this community. And I'm really proud of the fact that my entire board of hospital members have endorsed me. Plus, I've received broad support from people like Chris Fitz, former executive director for Land Watch, to Ron Cheshire, former executive director for the Monterey Bay building trades, which I know speaks to my ability to work with different people. I also asked for the Democratic Women endorsement. I received it in 2018. I'm taking nothing for granted, but I ask you to remember our mission to get women involved and to get qualified Democratic women elected. And I believe I fit the bill. So thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Well, now you've heard from our 4 Democratic candidates today. Per our usual webinar format, I ask that you get your question in the chat if possible. And as I mentioned also in the chat, a few of our candidates couldn't make it to our regularly scheduled program time today, but a few are here. I believe Glenn Church and Grant Leonard are here. And early on, Esther Malkin did ask a question right away about renters, and also Paula Pillow also asked kind of a similar question about renters. So What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that question out loud, and then I'm going to give Glenn and Grant each 1 minute to respond to that. I will also make sure this question makes it to Regina and Adriana, and we will find a way to post that on our website so that you could see their answers to the question, whether it be written or recorded as well. So, so I'm going to go ahead and ask Esther's question. And Paula, if it's okay with you, I'm going to combine your questions, but I will also send it to everybody so they could see the wonderful statistics that you posted there too. So Esther asks, how will you address the extraordinarily high rents facing the majority of residents in this county, since adding more units is a long way off? And as a renter, I feel that question for sure. So Glenn, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and you'll have 1 minute to respond to Esther's questions about renters.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Esther. First, I hope it's not going to be a long way off, because this is just too pressing of an issue, and we've had the wrong policies in place to really create the right kind of homes that we need for renters, or for any, even if somebody wants to buy a home. They're just too large. So in terms of looking at what we need to do right now, I would suggest that vacation rentals are a big issue that's being discussed about a lot. And I think there needs to be a stiff tax onto those, a real stiff tax, because every one of those means they're out of the housing market. So I would like to look around at different ideas around this country similar to this, to utilize those that come up with the funds. But I'd also like to look at homes that are 2,000 or 3,000 square feet now that maybe are not really workable as rental units. Maybe making it easier, they're able to be converted into duplexes or fourplexes. And that is something that can be done much more immediately. And I'll pass it. I guess I have no more time. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Glenn. And Grant, hold on, I'm going to get my timer going here. Grant, 1 minute to respond to our question about renters today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, I run the City of Monterey's Affordable Housing Office. I work with Esther on renter issues regularly. And the unfortunate fact is there's just not a lot of tools in the toolbox for local government to affect rents. It's an unregulated market. It's a private market. The county could look into forms of rent control, what's available within state law, which is not very much. But I don't think that politically is going to happen. So the sad fact is, without increased vouchers from the Housing Authority, or without increased development of new units, we're just in a market where it's going to remain high. And, just to be honest, no county supervisor is going to solve the high rents in the county. And our hands are tied by restrictive state laws that favor landlords. So we get some help from Sacramento, we can do some things. Without that, we are where we are.
Right on time. Thank you, Grant. Okay, Kate Daniels has a follow-up in the chat. She says, as you follow up, how do you see yourself working with the Board of Supervisors to impact high rents in Monterey County? And so Glenn, I'm going to give you 1 minute to respond, and then we'll let Grant, or actually, how about we let Grant, I'll give Grant 1 minute to respond, and then I'll give Glenn 1 minute to respond. So Grant, go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, after just basically saying it's hopeless, there's nothing we can do. I would advocate for the change, use the county's legislative advocacy at Sacramento to say this is a top priority for us, and work with the other 4 supervisors to help them learn about how important it is, what the experiences are of the renters. What I've seen at the City of Monterey in my 3 years here, the stories I heard of when we did our emergency rental assistance, the heartbreaking stories of people living paycheck to paycheck. I think when you live that day to day, you really understand what people are going through, and you get frustrated yourself at your inability to do more. And if you channel that frustration into positive energy, then I think we can get some good things going with the Board of Supervisors in our advocacy role at the state.
Great. You had 4 seconds to go, but that's great. And Glenn, I'm going to give you 1 minute to respond. As a follow-up, how do you see yourself working with the Board of Supervisors to impact the high rents in Monterey County?
Well, I think it involves more than just working with the Board of Supervisors too, because the county is, everything in the county is within the county. The Board of Supervisors are really affecting unincorporated areas, which is only about 25% of the population. So you have 75% of the population in the cities, and the county and the cities work really close together on a lot of issues anyway. I think this is another one that needs to be done very closely to deal with that. In terms of just with the county, this is an issue that goes across on all the other 4 supervisors. So they understand the issue. I think they all want to find a solution to it. I think, working together with them as we could go through some of this streamlining that needs to be done down at the building department, for example, on some of these conversions. But I think we need to work through, as I suggested earlier, on putting together some kind of a vacation rental tax that would be utilized for enhancing more rentals.
Great. Thank you so much, Glenn. And Esther is also posting some really good information about renters in the chat as well. So we hope that you'll take a look at that. But I'm going to move to a question from Lisa Dobbins, who I do want to note is a District 2 voter. So she has a question. I'm going to let Glenn respond first, but she would like to know if you would be willing to host town halls on a periodic basis to keep in touch with the community. And Glenn, you could go ahead, go first.
Well, actually, I'm hosting a virtual town hall on the April 10th, as it is anyway, as a candidate. 11th, I guess it is when I'm hosting one. So we'll already going in that direction. But I think what's really important is to just contrast between the current supervisor right now and what really needs to be done. Right now, the current supervisor is holding a town hall. I don't think he's held one now in over a year and a half, but it was just like once a year in a large setting, would have different county officials, and questions would come up, and all those questions would be deferred. I want to see monthly or bi-monthly small group settings. I want to get them so that they're common enough that you don't have to have 30 people coming in once a year, but put them in a place like Castroville and Aromas and meet on a regular basis so that people can go one-on-one with the supervisor and the staff and not be about deferring questions to just to the county staff, but to the supervisor staff.
Great. Thank you, Glenn. And Grant, 1 minute, would you be willing to host town halls on a periodic basis to keep in touch with the community, or how do you plan on keeping in touch with the community?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big believer in town halls. I've hosted a lot of them through TAMC and the city of Monterey. And then also up here in North County, through my work on the committees of North County Rec and Park District or Cemetery District Chamber of Commerce. So yes, getting out to the people is very important to me. We have a number of unincorporated communities up here, Castroville, Pajaro, Las Lomas, and Romas. You need to go out to each one, and not just as once a year thing like Glenn said, regularly. So every month, rotating basis, go to the different communities. I'm also a big believer in going to the meetings that are already happening. Go to the Rotary clubs, go to the Lions Club, go to the North County Recreation and Park District meetings. These things happen every week or every month. So don't make the people come to you. You go to the people and do an online meeting, have open office hours, have Wednesdays with Wendy type deals for North County. Why don't our supervisor do that? I'd love to have that. And that's what I do.
Thank you. Thank you both. And, this year because it's an election year and because we're not meeting in person yet, at all our webinars, our monthly webinars, we've been allowing candidates to take some time at the end, and we've just about reached the end of our time today. We've been letting each candidate speak a little bit about their candidacy and their campaign. So I'm going to close with allowing each one of you 1 minute to just let us know what you would like our membership to know, especially District 2 voters in our membership. Anything that you didn't get to address in your video interview. So Grant, we're going to start with you. Just 1 minute. announcement of whatever you'd like to keep us updated on with your campaign.
Yeah, thanks so much. Campaign is, for me, just me. I'm a one-man show. It's been a interesting experience. And in terms of what you should know that wasn't in the video, I'll reiterate, it's about experience and vision for me. It's about making it a great place to raise a family. It's about tackling these long-running issues in the county. It's been the same issues the 20 years I've lived here. And I don't want those to be the same issues that my daughter's working on in 20 years, or my son. They should be moving on to bigger and better things. So I'm running to tackle problems, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I've got a 1/6 of a chance here coming up in June. So we'll see how it goes. But I really appreciate all the work you guys have done and how approachable you've been. So thank you for all your support so far.
Thank you, Grant, and thank you for attending and for also doing your interview with us earlier. Again, just a reminder, this will all be posted to our website. Glenn, just 1 minute wrap up candidate statement from you as well.
Sure. Well, I think when I look at this campaign, the reason that I'm running is because I had a rare opportunity growing up watching a county supervisor operate from 65 to 77. And that was my dad. I saw how he responded to people. He took care of people's needs. They could call him any time of the day. I realized this is not an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday job. This is a 7-day-a-week job if you really want to do it right. And unfortunately, what has happened the last few years, it is not being done right. That's one of the reasons that I go out here. I've knocked on getting close to 4,000 doors at this point, listening to people in areas that people tell me all the time they've never had somebody come to their door. I spend 20, 30 minutes sometimes with some people. I've had people helping in my campaign, and what I've done, we've already dropped literature in some 9,000 places, because this is a campaign about helping people, and this is really what any supervisor should do. This is really what my emphasis is doing. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for having this event today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you again, both to Glenn and Grant. And again, I'm just going to say it again, this is going to be recorded and posted on our website along with the interviews. Please be sure to share those with your friends, especially in District 2. We want to make sure that we're doing our part to get the word out in the District 2 supervisor race. So I'm going to bring it to a close today and thank everybody for being here. I want to remind everybody, we are also in the midst of planning a sheriff's candidate forum. So stay tuned for more information on that. We're still in the planning stages there, but you should receive some information about that shortly. And if you have any questions, as always, you can always come to us. You can always email me at and you could go to the DWMC website and find ways to get a hold of all of us. So thank you so much for being here today, and we look forward to seeing you for the next one.